Hi, my name is Rebecca and welcome to Yarn and Pajamas. Today is episode number 3 of the Hooked on Murder. So in today's episode, we are going to travel all the way back to 2003 and visit Brooklyn, New York. And we're going to talk about the murder of Mark Fisher. So grab yourself a crochet project. I have my square that I'm working on for my 3D granny square blanket. I'm using peach orange to make just a plain old square. We're also outside this evening. It was nice and cool, and I've got my baby Beetles right here with me. He was out in the yard, but we're used to being over in the front yard. But we have a little family of hummingbirds that have been coming to the house. So we put out a feeder, and the feeder's over by Gertie in the front yard. So I'm trying to stay away so that they're not so skittish and can come. Okay, so get you guys something to drink and a crochet project, and I'm getting ready to tell you the story of Mark Fisher. So our story starts with Mark Fisher, who was a 19-year-old, I believe he was a sophomore in college. By all accounts, Mark was just a great guy. He was very studious. He was on the dean's list at school at his college. When he was in high school, he was a superstar athlete. He was very athletic still, and worked out. So on the night of October the 11th, 2003, Mark and a group of his friends went into Manhattan in New York, and they were going from club to club. They were doing what young kids do, teenage kids do. So during one of their outings at one of the clubs, Mark runs into a friend from school. Her name was Angel. And Angel had with her one of her friends named Meredith. Now Mark and Meredith kind of hit it off really well. So he was having, a more enjoyable time after meeting Angel and Meredith. So during the course of the evening, Angel ran into another one of her friends. His name was Albert. Along with Albert, there was John. So all of the groups of friends kind of meshed together and started going from one club to the next. So when they were at one club, one of the members of the group, John, was denied entrance into the club. So John suggests, because his parents were out of town on vacation, to come back to his home in Brooklyn, New York, and they would have an impromptu party. Okay, so this is where in the night that Mark separates from his friend group and goes off with Angel's friend group and Albert's friend group, and they go to John's house. During the course of the evening, John becomes upset with Mark because Mark disrespected him. Eyewitnesses from the party said that it involved Mark sitting on a table and John feeling that Mark was disrespecting him in his own home. Other than that, there were no fights, no ill wills towards anyone, and through the night, even that was squashed down. So at 6:40 a.m., police respond to multiple 911 calls about gunshots being fired. When they showed up to the scene, they found Mark's body lying at the end of a driveway. So Mark's body he had been beaten, and he had been shot 5 times in his chest, his side, and his back. and his shirt was ripped. Some buttons were missing from his dress shirt that he had on. He had $12 in his pocket, and his wallet was found like in a sewer drain. He was also covered over with a bloody yellow blanket. So the investigators start investigating the scene. They find some 22 spent shell casings on the ground, and they retrace Mark's night and find out where he had been. They have ATM footage of him withdrawing $20 at 5:23 a.m. So when they started talking to the people at the house, they spoke with John, and John said that the last time that he saw Mark was at 5 o'clock a.m. and Mark had fallen asleep on his couch and he was covered over with a yellow blanket. So the investigation kind of goes cold at the moment because they have no leads until they hear a story about another person who was at the party, and his name was Antonio, and Antonio was 17 years old. So they heard that there was a possible run-in between Mark and Antonio, and so they questioned Antonio. Antonio said that he had met Mark that night and didn't have any interactions with him other than just meeting him, and didn't know why he would have left the house, who he would have left the house with, or what he was doing. Shortly after being questioned by the police, Antonio, who has long dreadlocks, shaves his head, completely cuts off all of his dreads, and moves back to California, where he was originally from. So this is where, in the point in the story where everything just stalls out, everything goes cold, until John's friend Albert goes to the police and tells them what he knows. So after Albert speaks to the police in California arrests Antonio, and this is, let me see, I'm not really good with dates. It's November of 2014, so it's almost like a year, like 13 months after Mark has been murdered. So they arrest Antonio in California and bring him back to New York, and then in December they arrest John. So here's what Albert had to say. That was a really loud car. Albert had to say that shortly after the murder of Mark, his buddy John comes to him and tells him the story of what happened. Albert tells police that John is part of a street gang called the Ghetto Mafia, and that John is actually the captain of this gang. And John thinks that his members are going soft, that they're being pushed around on the street, and Antonio is one of the members. So Antonio and John come up with this scheme to murder Mark to get some kind of street cred for their gang. So the plan was for John to lure Mark out of the house, and Antonio was going to jump out and ambush him, and they were going to beat him to death. So that is pretty much how things started. We don't know for sure how they lure Mark out of the house, but they think that it has something to do with the ATM, going to the ATM, possibly to buy cigarettes or snacks. So they go to the ATM, and then on their way to wherever else they were going, Antonio jumps out of the bushes and starts attacking Mark. But now Mark, who's been an athlete for the better part of his life, is holding his own, and he starts fighting back and starts to get the better of Antonio. So Antonio has to pull out his gun, and that's when Mark succumbed to the gunshot wounds and passed away. And they tried to hide the body by covering it over with the blanket, and then they left. So John tells all of this to Albert so that Albert will dispose of the gun for him. So Albert comes clean with the police and tells them what he knows. The guys get arrested and they get put on trial. So they are tried together but with separate juries. I'm not really sure how that works. That's what happened, and they were both found guilty of murder and sentenced to 25 years to life. Now, I do know that each blamed the other for the murder. Antonio said, some cottonwood flying around. Antonio said that it was John who shot Mark, and John says that it was Antonio who shot Mark and killed him. So they're each blaming it on each other. John's mother confirmed that the yellow blanket that was found covering his beaten body was from her own home, but she believes in her son's innocence, and she has tried to prove that there was jury tampering in the case. Excuse me. She tried to say that one of the jurors was prejudiced against Jewish people, and that's why he voted to convict her son. She's went as far as to pose as a reporter, contact jury members, and try to get their confessions on audio. I believe that she may have been charged with something to get her to stop trying to do this, but she still believes in her son's innocence to this day. So sadly, this promising life was cut short. He was, a good kid. He came from a good family, and he had goals and ambitions to do good things, and his death was senseless. It was a murder for no reason. It was just, he was there. I did try to find out what happened to the other people that was at the party, like Angel and Meredith. Did they leave the party? I don't know. I couldn't find any information out about that. I don't know what happened to them. I would have assumed that Mark would have left when Meredith left. I really feel like that's why he went. He was really vibing with her and, wanted to see where that was going to go. So I don't know if the girls were still at the house and had just, fallen asleep, and he was lured out of the house afterwards. I did try to find that out and couldn't find it. So what did you guys think of tonight's episode of Hooked on Murder? It was a very sad one tonight. Very sad. I really feel bad for his family. He had, obviously a mother and a father, but he had a huge friend population, I guess. He was very well liked by just about everybody who met him. There were a lot of people who came to his memorial and his funeral. It's so sad to think that lives get cut short for these senseless reasons. And then not only that, but these two young men who murdered this innocent man have pretty much ruined their lives and their families' lives. I mean, you look at John's mother, I mean, she's going to like lengthy extremes because she believes in her son's innocence when, you know, a jury did not. So it's really sad. But that is all that I have for tonight's episode. There's a bumblebee over here on a flower, and he's got, you can see his little pollen buckets are full in the back. That's so cute. Nature, right? Okay, well, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope to keep bringing you more if you guys like it. So if you do, give me a thumbs up so that I know that I need to keep researching. So I will talk to you guys later. I got a little bit of my square finished, not a whole lot, but I'm a slow crocheter. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.